This is Mo Mackey, and you are watching another episode of Studio Time. Let's get it. So, in today's episode, I just want to talk about different ways that I run effects, and that could be for vocals or instruments or whatever you got going on. So, let's just get into it. All right, so there's many different ways that you could run your effects, right? So as you can see, like right here on the clap, I have a reverb, and that's directly on the track. But there's another way to do it as well, which I feel gives it better control, is if you're routing your effects through a bus. So say for instance, let's go to the vocals. And as you can see on my sends, I have reverb 1, delay, and it looks like that's really all I got going on here is my reverb 1 and my delay. These sends are being routed to the buses for reverb 1 and the delay. So if we go over, we can go to that bus where I have all of my effects, and you'll see reverb 1 here, reverb 2, CLA Epic, which is another reverb. So this could be considered reverb 3, a delay, delay 2, chorus 2, and sound toys. And over here I got tune, which is auto tune. But for each one of these reverbs, I have a bunch of different reverbs on the actual insert. So for this first one, you'll see I have the pure plate from UA. But I can also switch to reverb plate 140 from Arteria if I wanted to, or I could also switch to Quantum Leap Spaces from East West, which are all a bunch of great reverbs. But then I also have 2 compressors down here at the bottom as well. Because sometimes it's kind of nice to be able to compress your reverbs. There's a lot of different good cases to use compressors at the end of your reverbs. We're not going to get into that right now. I just want to go over the effects. All right, and then reverb 2, same thing. I have a bunch of different reverbs. I got the Ocean Way Studios from UA. I got ROM from Native Instruments. And I also have this old school Reverb Pro from UA. I've been using this thing since 2003. But it's just good to have different options for different reverbs, because let's say for instance you want to use a different reverb for your main vocals than you do your hook, or for just any specific part of the song. uh it's cool to use different reverb effects. You don't want to be too far out of the box, because you want to try to keep everything sounding within the same room. But when you want that like trippy vibe on different hooks or pre-choruses or things like that, it's also good to try different reverbs. And then on this third one, of course, I got the CLA Epic, which has a ton of reverbs in it itself, not just reverbs but delays, space. This is a really cool plugin from Waves that I tend to use. The delays, I usually use Fab Filter's Timeless 3, just because it's the only delay that does a lot of effects that it can do. Besides this one, I like to use Sound Toys, but mainly I'm always in Timeless 3, just because it's a really, really nice delay that gives you a lot of different options and cool effects. This is a Native Instruments delay replica, which is a straight standard delay. And then delay 2 has Valhalla's Super Masses. Valhalla has a lot of great reverbs and delays. So I like to keep those as options as well. And then my choruses are just D-Box, or I'm sorry, Studio D on both 1 and 2. They just have different settings in them. One I like to use for verses, the other I like to use for hooks. And then my Sound Toys, it's just the whole Sound Toys rack. So I can pick from whatever I want out of this rack and just slide it into the box there. But anyway, to the main point, the reason why you would want to use an effect in a bus rather than putting it directly on, say, the instrument or whatever channel, whatever audio you have going through your channel, vocals, instruments, whatnot. The reason you would do that is because you have a little more control. So typically what you would do is you would take this reverb and you would want to put it all the way into wet right here, right? So that you can control the amount of wetness it's getting from your syn. So I would control that right here. So that's why you want the wetness all the way up, so you can just control how much your channel is getting with your fader here. And let's take a listen. This is some exclusive stuff, so don't tell nobody I'm playing this for you, because you know Joey Hustle would get mad at me.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you're rocking with the best.
So you see how putting it all the way up puts it all the way in reverse.
Hitting the switch, hitting the gas, bitch, move fast. Hitting the switch, hitting the gas, bitch, move fast. Hitting the switch, hitting the gas.
So it just gives you more control by using a bus for your effects rather than putting it directly on the channel. And then you got so many options, you know, depending on your DAW, how many syns that you could put in there. So if you're not using buses for your effects, I would recommend giving it a try, just playing around with it. You know, it gives you better options if you say, for instance, like I just covered, if the plugin doesn't have a mix knob, you know, you can't control the amount of reverb that it's getting. So it's just good to have that option on your syns. Now, for some cases, on some particular reverbs, it's good to put them directly on the channel, like ROM or AKG's BX20, and even the pure plates that I brought up earlier. Those particular plugins are really good directly on, say, guitars or vocals or whatever. It's a good rule of thumb to play around with these plugins and see what they can do. But I hope you've learned something today. This is Mo Mackey. You are watching Studio Time.